The Toby Gribben Show podcast.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Toby Gribben Show podcast. Don't forget you can listen to the full show live at shoutradio.org.uk and all of the clips right here on the podcast. Anyway, enjoy the interview.
The new VHI 360 Health Centre Carrickmines gives our healthcare members access to 5 floors of clinical expertise, including urgent care, paediatrics and state-of-the-art diagnostics, all under one roof. Visit vhi.ie. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Well, we've got Drunken Yoda here from the last Movie Outpost. How are you doing today?
That's fantastic. A little cold, but that's the Midwest here for you.
Yeah, well, it's beginning to get really sunny and spring-like here now, but it's probably a little bit colder than it is for you, but we're just used to it being really cold, so we kind of like it when it's a little bit sunny.
Yeah, we get used to it, but what's nice is that everything I do is inside for the websites, and we've got people over in your area too, so it's a lot of people are working on it.
Yeah, that's true. You've got an English guy, don't you? What's he called? Not George Lucas.
Not George Lucas. He's one of the 2 English guys. The other guy never gets on any of the streams. His name is Stark, and he is a machine pumping out entertainment news after movie news after streaming news, just story after story of stuff. I don't know where he gets it all, but every day he's putting out at least 2 or 3 stories along with the rest of the crew.
Is that the guy that does those like how to make a Marvel movie and how to make a B movie kind of videos?
That's not George Lucas. Yeah, that's the ones he did.
So how would you describe the last Movie Outpost overall for those that haven't checked it out?
So a while ago, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the internet was kind of taking off, there was a site called Ain't It Cool News, and among a lot of other movie sites. But his was good because it was it was ground up fan driven. And he was a movie geek and kind of like a movie geek like the rest of us. Yeah. As time went on, he made the site more and more about himself, and then he had a Me Too movement about 4 or 5 years ago. So he had his Me Too moment, and people kind of drifted off. But there was a lot of people in those discussion groups, those talkbacks, the comment section after every story, that had kind of gotten to know each other. And so they went and they started their own site. And some of those guys, there were some motions that went through back and forth. And so they started a second site that had the same problem. That's about when I joined these guys. Although I wasn't that part of the talkbacks, I certainly was big on the original site. And then we all decided to get together and build our own site. And this time we decided we were going to be partners, and nobody was going to have carte blanche over the other 3, and try to always respect each other and put movies first rather than politics and the message and all this cultural nonsense that has just permeated, it permeates your macaroni and cheese now. You can't get away from any of it. And we wanted to kind of celebrate and rediscover the joy of film and certain shows. And although we have a lot of problems with a lot of entertainment and how it's coming out now, we do want to be as authentic as possible, give everything a chance. If we don't like it, we'll say why we don't like it. If we do like it, we'll say why we do like it. But we want to be as authentic as possible. And if you go to any of the big, I would say, corporatized movie sites, it's clear that they're just marketing arms for a lot of these films now. And it just gets... you just don't feel like you're getting anything that's authentic anymore. And we try to slice and dice and cut down why stories work, why movies work, and why they don't. And that's what we're trying to do for the most part.
Yeah. And you mentioned about how you don't like the way that movies are now. Do you think that movies are worse now, or maybe were better back in the day?
These days, yes, they're much worse. They're far worse than they used to be. There's a lot of various reasons for that. Some of it is political. Some of it is putting in present day problems into movies that age like milk. I think of the Revenge of the Sith movie where Obi-Wan and Anakin are having their lightsaber fight at the end. And just before that, Anakin says, "You're either with me or against me." Well, that was a veiled reference to what George Bush said back in the day. Does anybody remember that now? When you watch that movie, do you think about that now? Fortunately, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, but a lot of this stuff does. And on top of that, you have a lot of there was a time when movies were made, the studios would bankroll them, but they kind of trusted the directors and the writers to go and make an actual story because that's what sold. And now they will pull out whole sections of movies that make the movie incomprehensible because maybe it's too violent, or maybe it doesn't hit the right demographic, or maybe it can't get a PG-13 rating, or maybe it won't sell a toy. It has nothing to do with the actual artistry of film. And that's what we love, is the artistry of film, not the money-making aspect. Yes, we understand it takes a lot of money to make a movie these days, but I think they're killing the golden goose by trying to stick all this stuff in there that doesn't belong with the actual story.
Yeah, that's true. Because there are a lot of films actually recently where humor has had to take more importance over the story. So a scene that's funny will stay, but a scene that actually helps you understand what's going on might get cut.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. And then a lot of the humor these days are not really built on anything. It's about letting the comedians play around and improv. There's no real thought into how they're going to move forward. So I look at the two recent Ghostbusters, or the recent Ghostbusters movie versus the classic Ghostbusters movie. The one with all the ladies in it, there was a lot of weird improv about wonton soup or something. And it really was not anything to do. It was just Melissa McCarthy trying to be funny. And it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's not really funny. I look back at the original Ghostbusters, one of the funniest scenes in there, in my opinion, because it's very situational and it really is true to the characters that they created, is they're all in an elevator. And he says, I don't think we've ever tested this equipment. And he's like, well, yeah, it's just an unlicensed nuclear accelerator. What's the big deal? So Egon turns on Ray's, proton pack, and then he backs away slowly in an elevator. Like that's going to do anything on a nuclear bomb. It's just, you're laughing at it just for me terribly telling it to you. And I mean, that kind of humor, the situational stuff isn't there anymore. It's all slapdash. It's all conceptual, and we'll figure it out as we do it, and then we'll fix it in post. And there's no real plan on these scripts. It's the last thing they think of anymore. And so it's not all. The Green Knight came out recently. Very well done. Very artistic, but not something that's going to catch a lot of mainstream movie audiences. And that's the problem. If you're only doing things that are so artistic that they become inaccessible for a lot of movie audiences, and everything you're doing for movie audiences is basically McDonald's, we're losing something there. We're losing something of our culture in there.
Yeah. Now, perhaps surprisingly, movies are perhaps one of the most controversial things, people's opinions of different films. So can it get quite heated, maybe, if you're having a discussion on Last Movie Outpost and maybe a few of you don't agree with each other about a film?
Oh, no, because I'm always right, and that really helps. We are generally fairly like-minded. I would love to get more non-like-minded people in there. When we disagree about a movie, it's usually respectful, and it's usually based on something that has to do with your tastes or that kind of thing, and we kind of all understand that. Where I have a lot of trouble is that some people seem to like a particular show or movie. I think of the new Star Treks, which are so full of weird, angsty political nonsense, and then people just act like it's the same as the original Star Treks that we all loved. Like on this, I don't remember Captain Picard crying every 5 minutes. That didn't happen, So, but when you see people telling you how much they loved it, or how much they love Last Jedi, or some of these others, and you think it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like they're trying to show what a good person they are. And that borders on some sort of weird religious fervor that I really, because I mean, the corporations, they don't really care. They'll just go to wherever they think is going to make the money. And so they think Twitter is real life for some reason. And I don't think they can afford to do this, not after the pandemic. I mean, people just aren't going to the theaters anymore. Why should they when they could just watch it on streaming? So the whole art form is, I'm really afraid of dying, and I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of streaming services? Do you think they're a force for good, or because I guess most movie fans agree that cinema is better, but do you think that there's a time and a place for streaming services still?
Yeah, I think well, it's all about the content, isn't it? And yeah, I'll take Netflix. Netflix has done some interesting things with Dave Chappelle and have put out some really interesting documentaries and some really good movies. They've also done some things like that Cuties movie, which actually filmed very underage kids.
The new VHI 360 Health Centre Carrick Mines gives our healthcare members access to 5 floors of clinical expertise, including urgent care, paediatrics, and state-of-the-art diagnostics, all under one roof. Visit vhi.ie. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Drivers, be extra alert for motorcycles at and near intersections. Pay particular attention when overtaking, changing lanes, and making left and right-hand turns. From the Road Safety Authority, supported by Carol Nash Insurance.
Kids doing some very suggestive things that was, I don't, that kind of stuff. I'm like going, is that good or bad for film? Is that a thing that we want out there? And a streaming service will, especially in this wild, wild west of streaming services, will pick up anything and everything if they think it will get more subscriptions. And unfortunately, I think us as a consumer, we're really bad at, it's like canceling a gym membership. You just forget to do it.
Yeah.
And so we're not canceling those things like we should when we feel like there's something not good on it. It doesn't even have to be controversial. Maybe we just think the quality is just not good.
Yeah.
You don't have to go. There was a time you just didn't go to a bad Police Academy movie anymore. You just stopped buying a ticket. It wasn't because you voted a certain way. It just was a bad movie.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. But everything is disrupted now as far as the entertainment industry, and I think we're all just trying to figure out and let it all settle. So I don't know where streaming is going to fit into that. It was kind of nice. It's like, I could just get this streaming service and get these movies I want. But then another streaming service has Indiana Jones, and a third streaming service has Star Trek, and a fourth streaming, and pretty soon you're spending more money than you ever did on cable. So I don't know if that's sustainable or not.
Yeah, that's true, because of course there's not just one streaming service. So if you've got all the major ones, then I think in the UK it's about £6 for the cheapest package. So that's a lot of money for loads of streaming platforms every month.
It is, and from just a pure economic standpoint, I don't know how much longer Netflix can continue, because all the, we have Paramount Plus now, we have Disney, which bought 20th Century Fox, so they have their own thing. HBO is basically a Warner company. Amazon Prime is buying MGM Studios, and so they're going to have all the James Bonds. And Netflix is losing all these ones that they used to have. So either they have to put out their own original content, which is good, and I don't think there's very much on Netflix that I go, I got to have Netflix because I got to see this series. Whereas the other ones, they do, especially HBO Max. I think it's probably the most quality right now. Disney Plus is great if you want all that original stuff and you want the Marvel, you want all the stuff for your kids. Paramount and Amazon Prime, and then there's like really niche ones. Like there's one called Shudder, which is nothing but horror movies. And my wife subscribes to one that's just nothing but love movies. Like the Nicholas Sparks streaming service or something. So I don't know. I mean, at some point, especially with inflation and with the economy, when the economy goes bad, I just don't know if they're going to be able to continue the way they are or not. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Would you support the return of Blockbuster?
No. Physical media is just, it's had its day. And so but there may be a resurgence. There has been a resurgence in vinyl in records. I couldn't believe it when I went to my big Nebraska Furniture Mart over here, which sells, all sorts of electronics, and there's just a whole row of turntables there in various, ornate, looking. They're really nice. And they're selling a whole record section again. I think there is something to saying it's nice to have the physical copies because they can't take that away from you. Whereas, it's really to the point. If you say the wrong thing on Twitter, then maybe your HBO Max decides they don't want you to be a customer anymore. And then what do you do? Or if you bought this stuff online, it's in the cloud. The cloud has a technical problem. And it destroys it all, and you got to prove that you had it all. What do you do? If you have a Blu-ray player, that can't happen. So there's pluses and minuses. The minuses. You got to have all the storage room for all these movies if you're a real buff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I'm lazy. I'm just horribly lazy. It's like I'll look through a streaming service if I'll have a hankering for a particular movie, and I'll look through a streaming service and I can't find it, then I won't watch it, even though I own it. It's right there. It's on the shelf. Just get up, put it down. I'm lazy.
Yeah, I think that is actually a really common thing. Even if the DVD is literally in your hand, it's so much easier just to pick up the remote and flick through and find it.
Yeah, or find it on your phone or something like that. But no, that shelf is hundreds of millimeters away. I can't be bothered to get it. Oh, I got to turn the TV to video too. I don't even know how to do that anymore. The hell with it. That's how lazy we've become.
I think even further than that, people who've got the DVD have actually purchased it online on YouTube or whatever to watch.
Yeah, you can buy it and then they give you a digital copy with it. So the thing just sits there still wrapped in the original cellophane. So I haven't bought a physical one in a while, and a lot of that's something the guys give me trouble about because they're like, hey, you better get the physical copies. You don't want to be built, and they may be right, but I don't know. I like the convenience of being able to watch it right on my on whatever device I have. So
well, here we go then. Who are your favorite actors and directors and movies in general of all time?
Of all time, well, I think that Star Wars is what got me into being such a movie buff. It was the first one that I actually saw behind the scenes stuff on. And really kind of got a better understanding of how they did, because I was like 7 when it came out, and not that I want to tell anybody my age, but so I really, the original Star Wars trilogy probably is always going to be near and dear to my heart, but I have a huge love for so many different types of movies. And, if you say, well, what's your favorite horror movie? I'm going to say probably The Thing or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because there's more to it than just a guy running around with a chainsaw. I'm going to say sci-fi. I'm probably going to start talking about Star Trek or Blade Runner. A lot of the 80s stuff is really good. I have a real affinity for various different types of movie score composers, John Williams, and James Horner, and guys that make the music that they don't do anymore. You ask me what's wrong with today's movies. I mean, nobody makes a theme anymore. You got the Avengers theme. You could probably hum that. You could certainly hum Indiana Jones, Superman, Star Wars. You know those themes, even the Harry Potter theme. But you'll go to a movie now and it's just musical atmosphere. It's just supposed to be noise, kind of musical noise, but there's no theme to it. So that bothers me about today's movies. I miss that a lot.
There are a few, particularly Disney films, that have songs, though, in them that seem to be charting quite well. Whether they're actually good or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of the newer Disney stuff recently, and my kids have grown up, so I don't have an excuse to anymore. And quite frankly, the site keeps me busy between that and my day job, that I'm just trying to watch the things that I can get to in between, making YouTube videos, dissecting the movies that I loved and things like that.
Yeah. Well, what's coming up in the next few days and weeks on the website, really? Have you got plans to release stuff?
we're always coming. I don't keep track enough of what the other guy's doing, but there's always somebody that's going to be coming up with some behind the scenes article that's usually very long and very in depth, and it goes into some great movies. I also run the YouTube channel. Got a couple guys on there. We do a weekly streaming, and then I am doing an overlooked video on the movie City Slickers, which is very near and dear to my heart. My overlooked series is basically movies that are not classics necessarily. They're very solid or bordering on classics, but it's not one that people talk about. Like they talk about a Star Wars, they talk about a Ghostbusters or something like that, or a Godfather, but they may not talk about these movies. I found that the channels on YouTube, they either like to talk about these really, really awesome movies, these classics or these big things that everybody's talking about, or they talk about these really bad movies like The Room.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa, oh, hi, Mark. Or Troll 2 or stuff like that. Yeah. And nobody's really talking about something like City Slickers or The Ref or Punch Drunk Love. I think really good movie. There's a lot of these movies that kind of fly under the radar that are really solid watches, and I'm trying to bring that back into the spotlight because I think they deserve another watch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, where can we check out the website and the YouTube channel? Well, I mean, I guess the YouTube channel's on YouTube.
It is, weirdly enough. We wanted to put it on Facebook, but they said no. Oh. So we had to put it on YouTube because it was a YouTube channel. Yeah. We are lastmovieoutpost.com. We like to say we are the cool news now. So you can find us all there. We have all the links to all our different social sites. We have a Facebook page. I think it's /Last Movie Outpost. Of course, the YouTube. If you just search for Last Movie Outpost, you'll find us. Subscribe. We are not above begging for likes and subscriptions and all that kind of stuff. So, and hopefully you'll be able to find some movie news and some interesting things from just a different point of view. One that's not corporatized or trying to push some weird political message or something. Just people who just love the entertainment, love the art form, and want to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many thanks for joining us today. It's been great to talk to you.
I appreciate it. It's been great talking to you.
Everything's grand. No other explanation needed. Grand, yeah? You're grand. And the beloved grand stretch. We're happiest when everything is grand. That's why you'll find yourself more than happy in the new Opel Grandland. With Opel's bold design, streamlined interior, and a choice of petrol, diesel, and plug-in electric hybrid, you'll find that life can actually be quite grand when all you want is everything. The new Opel Grandland. Test drive today at your local Opel dealer.
The throbbing pulse of sound. The Toby Gribbon Show.